Okay, yep, just one moment here. Okay, hold on, sorry. Okay, so let's go. So, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of the AfroFinLab podcast, where we aim to make this crypto nonsense make sense. My name is Azeez Saeed, and I'll be today's host. Last week, we had a great conversation with Dara, a creative entrepreneur from Port Harcourt, Nigeria, and Philippe from the Cardano Effect podcast. It was a great episode where someone who was a complete and utter quote unquote newbie to the blockchain ecosystem began to see the possibilities within this dynamic ecosystem. This week's expert is Boone, one of Cardano's most valuable players. He has an amazing story of persevering through anguish and setback, ultimately emerging with a grand vision for the future. Currently, he's spearheading a project on the Cardano protocol that seeks to ignite social responsibility through advertising dollars called We Think It Matters, or WTIM. Welcome to the show, Boone. It's great to have you here with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Now, with every episode of the AfroFinLab podcast comes a referee to decrypt and help us make sense of this crypto nonsense. This week's referee is Joanna, representing the leaders of the future. She's actually our youngest guest to date, an 11th grade student whose interests have led her to Bitcoin, Cardano, and the crypto economy. Although she's young and new to the space, that doesn't change anything here at AfroFinLab, as we want everyone, no matter what age, to feel confident to follow their curiosity into this ecosystem and get answers to their questions. Joanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And now, as I said just before we got into speaking about this intro here, please don't be scared to ask questions at any point if you don't understand anything. Know that there are no dumb questions. The questions you think could be dumb are often the ones that help us make this crypto nonsense make sense. For our audience, I want you all to know that the AfroFinLab is a safe space for all people within the diaspora and beyond to follow their curiosity into the ecosystem, the blockchain ecosystem. So, how the show will go is we'll get to discussing for about 45 minutes. Again, Joanna, feel free at any point to ask questions if something doesn't make sense to you. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, there'll be about 15 minutes for questions and answers from the audience. So let's get into it. Boone, do you want to tell our audience about yourself and how you got into the crypto ecosystem?
Sure, thank you. So really, I've been a full-time entrepreneur, I guess you would say, for really most of my life. Just always hustling, doing whatever I could, side work, finding my own gigs, but really, just always trying to create businesses to be, make it by. And, about 10 years ago, I actually started a nonprofit called Northwest Prodigies. And it was in a kind of a darker time in my life where I was just kind of stuck in bad habits and living a party lifestyle just because it was a way of medicating depression I had. But out of this, I started a nonprofit literally to throw parties where the money being spent to go to these parties would send kids on Make-A-Wish trips. And the whole premise was that, was party for a purpose. That was our mission. And so I was trying to feel better about this huge sum of money I was wasting every weekend and make it purposeful, And it was very eye-opening to me when starting a nonprofit, even though I was, really selfish motivations inside of why I was doing this, still there was this greater good, sending kids on Make-A-Wish trips. And as soon as I started doing that, it was like doors in my life started opening and different things that were, I just kind of realized things going on in the marketplace, like really the different economies that exist out there. And I realized, wow, as a nonprofit, I'm competing for the same consumer dollars that businesses are competing for. But as a nonprofit, if I spend 10 cents on advertising, I get criticized for not giving it to the cause. And I realized, well, wait a minute, businesses are spending billions of dollars to get my attention and no one blinks an eye or says anything, has any problems with them doing that, you know. And I thought this is kind of a weird paradigm to be trying to run a business in, because a nonprofit is a business. It's just a business that's not to make one person rich. And the I realized, wow, you know, like all nonprofits, so they're operating this paradigm out here. And I started realizing like what nonprofits really need is they needed a partner or a platform in the marketplace that could allow them to get the same attention brought to them that, you know, brands are spending huge money for, but also I was trying to figure out a way that you know, they could get fundraising and stuff from this, because I also learned through trying to start a nonprofit that, you know, nonprofits right now, they're paying to use fundraising technology to reach out to you to try to ask you to give money. So I was like, so they have to spend money to ask people to give money. And it was just like all these weird, like, I thought, wow, this is really strange how you try to run a business in these circumstances. And that was how We Think It Matters was born, was literally my struggle in the nonprofit industry opened my eyes up to how we need to have these like cross partner partnerships, you know, across all industries. It's not just advertising, you know. There's businesses like Tom Shoes now where, you know, you buy a pair of shoes and a pair of shoes gets donated to someone in need who would have never been able to afford shoes. So it's like there's different business models out there that you can take part. You can buy something you're already going to buy, but it also has additional good that it does in the world. And really, that's kind of that's what's led me down this blockchain journey too. And how I discovered Cardano was that you know, whatever blockchain it is, really the idea behind blockchain is this inclusiveness. So, you know, like allowing there to be equal economic opportunity across the board. So what most excited me about the DC fund when I heard about it was I thought, well, this might be a real startup venture capital opportunity where uh, five guys sitting at a table don't make the decision on whether I get funding or not for my idea. And that's my hope for blockchain, is that we just begin to see like, you know, opening up, you know, economic opportunity really for everyone who wants to put in some effort to try to create value for others.
Boone, can you throw a little bit of light on the DC fund you mentioned? Like, just throw a little bit more light on that. I believe maybe not all of our audience know what the DC fund is.
Yeah, so the DC fund is, I'm sorry for my light, I don't know what's going on with it here, but and it stands for decentralized fund. You know, that's what DC stands for, decentralized. And it's put on by the Cardano Foundation. You know, it's part of the initiative to really grow the ecosystem. So the whole purpose of the DC fund is to create opportunity for entrepreneurs and businesses to get funding to support development of creating solutions and businesses on top of the Cardano blockchain.
So I have a question for you, Boone. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sidney. Go ahead.
So where do you see blockchain? What is blockchain to you? And like kind of where do you see it going kind of like in general? I mean, I know that you are you have a project in the DC fund where you're looking to fund nonprofits with advertising dollars, but just in a general sense, because just kind of doing a little bit of research before our show today, you really do have this kind of inclusive let's use this technology to make the world better. How do you see blockchain being able to assist in that?
So what blockchain represents to me is really, using technology to its fullest, fullest and best purposes, because what you have in a blockchain technology is well, not quite there yet, but really there's an opportunity for just about wherever you are to enter and take part in that that ecosystem. So when I say not really yet, is realistically it's still not as easy as you would think to just buy cryptocurrency or
Mm-hmm.
invest in it's not always cryptocurrency. Blockchains have different use cases, supply industry, supply chain, all kinds of different things. So it's like buying these tokens that are on these blockchains is really a way for you to buy a share of stock in a company, in a way, right? It's a way for you to invest in a platform or a business idea that you think has potential. And so right now, if I was to try to buy a share of Apple or Google or things like that, that's not always easily accessible to me, or depending on where you're in the world, that might not be accessible at all to you. That might not even be an opportunity to you. So what blockchain does is really through the distributed networks that they create and stuff, no one centralized server or authority of power managing these things. It gives really the whole global community an opportunity to, at the same value, take part in a system. So wherever you are in the world right now, you can buy ADA for the same price as me or James or Mercy. And so that's inclusive, right? There's no because I'm this person or that person or live here, I get a different deal or something like that.
Mm.
That's kind of how I see blockchain is different in ways that's going to open up, greater economic just prosperity around the globe.
Mm.
I have a question. So you say like it's like gonna go like around the globe and everything. So like you know how there's like different currencies, like there's euros and like US dollars and CAD. Like there might be like an imbalance there because like what like how would that like work?
Um, you mean as far as like one global currency, or you just mean like
Is like are the prices gonna change for like different like where you live in the world?
no?
Like
So that's what I'm trying to say is, as long as, so there when we get to the point where there's uh fiat currencies represented, they're digital now, and um, we get to the point where there's different tokens that maybe represent different markets. um, those tokens, will be able, that will have the market will really set what their values are. And that's the same thing as in the general tokens now. It's no one can influence the price of ADA in one area of the world. So no matter where you're at, you're still going to be able to access the same prices as anyone.
okay.
And maybe I'll just add a little bit to that. Just take it even a step further from what Boone just said. So, yes, and that was a great question, by the way, Joanna.
Yes,
That
thank you.
like in different countries, they have different currencies, right? In a way, when we get into the blockchain world, sort of we speak blockchain language, right? So all these different currencies like euros or USD or Canadian dollars or even Ghana cedis, whatever it is, there's a way that we need to change it into blockchain language. And there's something that we call stable coin. So, when it comes to trade and, financial transactions all over the world, for it to be on the same level, we have something also that we call stable coin. So I hope that
Yeah,
adds to what Boone said.
that's a great point. Yeah, really,
Mm-hmm.
stable coins
Mm-hmm.
will be the next, um, what you're talking about as far as a currency that just maintains one value for a region or a marketplace, whatever that is. And we have some representations of stable coins now, but um, even there's questions around some of those stable coins, really what assets back, them and different things. So um, it's just it's a wild, wild west out here. And and it's but the thing is about the wild, wild west, the pioneers that saw opportunity in the west and loaded up their wagons and put in the hard work. There was financial gain, and some of them went on to build businesses and all that kind of stuff. So cryptocurrency and blockchain is the next financial operating system, the next operating system on which a lot of businesses do business. And so there's it makes sense to educate yourself about what companies out there are leading the way, which ones, what are the Apples and Microsofts of the blockchains.
On that note about the Apples and Microsofts of the blockchain, something that I think about blockchain is that, like, if you're in the ecosystem now, you're almost like investing in Google when they were in the garage kind of thing. Like, that's how new this thing is. I actually have a question for you, Joanna. I guess you're the referee, is usually supposed to be asking questions, but I guess at your age, I'm wondering what brought you into the crypto blockchain ecosystem? What made you curious about this?
I think that everything, it's like always, and you always hear about it, like you would be like just listening to something or something, and then you just like hear like Bitcoin, like cryptocurrency and all that. And you kind of have to get like tapped into it. Like you hear people always say like save some, invest some, and like buy whatever you need. And you have to like know what to invest, you know what I mean? And that's, I think that, and also my mom is talking about it all the time. So
lucky you.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, I have a question for you, Boone. So since you've came into the blockchain crypto ecosystem, what your understanding of financial literacy, of finances, how has that maybe changed since you came into this ecosystem?
Yeah, so blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin, all that stuff has been on my radar for a long time. So it's kind of crazy. Actually, this is kind of a side story I just want to tell you real quick because it popped in my mind. When I first started work on We Think It Matters, I've been trying to work on this, bring this company to life for 9 years now. And I've had a lot of failures in launching versions of the platform and stuff, but they've all taught me something. But 9 years ago, when I had raised $60,000 in startup funds, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I went out and I was interviewing people to hire them or whatever. And I met this kid, and he was like 19 years old, and he was telling me, oh yeah, there's this thing Bitcoin, and I'm mining it like crazy, and you should be mining it. And I was so wrapped up in We Think It Matters that I was like, I don't really got time for another thing, dude. And and this was like the 3 cents Bitcoin days, and I just think back many times, like, dude, if I would have just took a minute to look into that when he was trying to tell me what was going on,
you would be really wealthy right now.
And so it's like that's the importance of it, is like, if you start hearing people talk about technology and things that they're like, this is going to change the world, why wouldn't you spend some time to learn about it? And so really, later on, after I realized that I missed out on the early Bitcoin days, I got further down with We Think It Matters, I started understanding kind of the purposes behind blockchain around transparency and all these different things, and really this accounting method that was more open and accessible. And since with We Think It Matters, I was trying to tell people, look, if you're a business, tell businesses, if you spend $1 advertising here, 60% is going to go to a business. I mean, to a nonprofit. I was trying to tell them, we've got this, we're going to be supporting charity. I thought, well, blockchain gives me a way that I can show the world legitimately. Like when we say you spend $1 advertising and we think it matters. Here's where it goes. And you can look at all our records and they're open and transparent. So then I started thinking, well, like, oh, this isn't just like get rich type stuff. This is like what real world applications. And so it was probably about 2 years ago that I actually started really experimenting, and I created a Tron token and just trying to fool around with it and do different things. But then I also, you got to learn. It's not only technology; it's like who's behind the technology. What is their purpose? What is their kind of motivating inside of it? What's motivating them inside to build it? And so that's when I discovered Cardano, and they had this really inclusive, we want to serve the world type of mission statement. And I thought, oh wow, if I don't think Tron token is the right token for we think it matters. I think ADA is the right token for this system. And so I've been looking, I have you know I'm not like one loyal just to one blockchain either. I think it's very important that if you want to have financial literacy, then you need to know about all the players in the industry, not just learn about one. And you can still remain loyal to one, but if you don't know what's going on with a company's you love's competitor, and then you might be missing out on other opportunities.
I
I
think
have a, oh, sorry.
I'll let you speak now. I think it's very interesting on your point about Bitcoin. Actually, one of our panel audience members actually mentioned that Cardano is kind of in a position right now where it is at that very cheap point before who knows what price it's going to go to. We're not here to speculate on prices, but it's very early days. But the thing that it's trying to set out to do is quite incredible. And as you said, if someone's talking about technology in our world that could revolutionize our world, our financial system, why wouldn't you listen to it? So why wouldn't you just dig in a little bit deeper just to find out what it's about? Anyways, go ahead, Joanna. You were going to say something there.
Yeah. So, what is like the best case scenario? Like, what would happen if like everybody was like involved with Cardano? Like, what would that look like?
Well, so another thing I think, and we're talking about financial literacy, so never base anything on the price of a token. So you need to look at what's called the market cap. And what a market cap represents is the value that's being based on that blockchain. If you took the price of the token times all the tokens that are out there, right? And so if you look on any of the places out there, what you'll look at next to these tokens is market cap. And what's important to remember is, I'm not even sure what, let me see if I can bring it up real quick.
Wait, what's the market cap again?
So market cap is, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Market cap is the token price times the amount of tokens that are out there. So if there's 1 million tokens in a blockchain and those tokens are selling for $1 a piece right now, that's got a $1 million market cap, right?
Okay.
And so I was going to bring it up real quick just so I can give you an example of what Azeez is right now.
Yeah, so kind of the total value of the tokens that are what this is in circulation, so that's available for us to trade. Because most blockchains will have tokens that are available for us to trade or that are in the market, and then they'll also have tokens that that are not available, that are not in the market. So the market cap represents the number of tokens that are in the market times the price of those tokens.
And to give you an example for Cardano, so there's approximately 31.1 billion ADA in circulation, and they're selling for right around 16 cents. And so that gives Cardano a $4.9 billion market cap. And so when you're researching tokens and stuff out there on the market, you want to look at a company's market cap and compared to the whole ecosystem, you know. So for example, there's coins out there that have hundreds of millions of dollars in market cap, yet the company has no revenue, no path to revenue. You know, it's been purely driven up by speculation. And it's like, is that really a good deal to buy, even if the token was 1 penny, but the market cap is, you know, $1 billion or whatever, and the company's done nothing? Do you think that's, you know, would that even be worth spending so it's, you got to always remember, people, you know, think, oh, something's a good deal because it's pennies, or, you know, it's under $1, you know. And I do believe Cardano's a good deal right now, but you know, but there's a lot more to price than just the per token.
That's, I think, one. Go ahead, Mercy.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, and just to add to that, right? Because I'm sort of going back to Joanna's question about, you know, like in the best case scenario, right? What would this ultimately be if everybody is actually using it? Yes, part of it is the market cap. You know, like how many people do we have in this world? Like, is it 6 billion, 7 billion now? So times the market cap. Let's say everybody is using Cardano, so that, you know, you can imagine that. But it's not just the price of the token or Cardano ADA as a currency, but it's also all the other things that we can possibly use Cardano for, which is identity, which is trading, which is insurance, which is taxes. Like, it's like right now, it's a great question, Joanna, but we can't even imagine how it would be like if the whole world was actually, you know, go blockchain. Even if the whole world go blockchain and they all decided not to, you know, like Boone was saying, you know, like if they all decided to use some other blockchains or some other cryptocurrencies, even then it will still be huge. And on top of that, if they all decided, you know what, we think Cardano or ADA is the one chain to rule them all, so let us all go on Cardano, then it will just be huge. And what we have to remember, right, when we talk of financials and we talk about wealth and we talk about those things, it is the trading and the movement. You know, like Boone sells me something, I sell something to Sidney, you buy something from me, Joanna, you know, Azeez, you know, like it's that movement. That's what brings value. So, you know, just thinking blockchain and thinking crypto and, you know, best case scenario, I don't think we can even imagine it at this time. I don't know if Sidney has something to say, to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're. I mean, that's you're right on point. It's very difficult to peer that far into the future. It's like trying to understand what 2020, you know, would look like back in, let's say, 1995, when Microsoft first released their first operating system. I mean, you could do some documents, some Word documents, and probably Excel spreadsheets. Now I'm talking to everybody on Zoom. You know, no one even imagined that Zoom would be a thing back when they created that. And it's the same with cryptocurrencies now. And this is an analogy that I like to use because of just kind of the world that I've been in and where I see the future going, because cryptocurrency is not the only technology that is converging during this time. I mean, there's artificial intelligence, there's augmented reality, you know, there's different energy technologies that are coming out. One of the technologies that is another promising technology is automation and robotics. So this is kind of how I like to look at it as well. So long time ago, they used to have a barter system. That's how they traded. You know, you give me your, you know, chicken, I'll give you my, you know, cow or something. I don't know. It worked. It didn't work well because not both parties were satisfied in that transaction. Because if you want to give me your cow for my chicken and I don't need a cow, then that's not really something that's going to benefit me. And then over time, we moved to some form of currency where you give me your chicken and I give you this money that has purchasing power in the future. So I don't have to use that money right then and there. I could use it later on to purchase something in the future if I want to, or I can use it right now to purchase something. It holds purchasing power. So our dollars and Canadian dollars and euros, all of those things hold purchasing power now. So if I want to trade with someone, I want to buy something from them, I give them something that will give them purchasing power that they can use in the future to purchase whatever it is that they want with it. And where we're moving to now is not only being able to have that dollar or token or whatever off of that purchasing power, but a bunch of things are happening. One thing that's happening is that all of the people that haven't been able to participate in the economy are going to be able to participate in the economy now. So you might have some people that are in places in the world where they don't have banks, they don't have methods of exchange that are mature the way that we have them, in the U.S. and Canada. And so those folks are going to be pulled into the economy. So that's going to make the economy a lot bigger. So once all of those, because those people provide remarkable value, maybe, they make, hats or, shirts or whatever it might be, wherever they are, but they can't get their things to a bigger market. But now they're going to be able to sell their things pretty much across the world, and they're going to be able to do it kind of in I'll call it a frictionless way, so that there's not a lot of value lost with me buying something from somewhere else, where they don't, where it's difficult for us to kind of exchange things. And then for me, the biggest thing that I see coming is in the very near future, our robots are going to be purchasing for us. So there's going to be robots that, so you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to be like, man, I need some nice red boots, and then you're going to tell your robot, hey, I need some nice red boots. And then you're going to lay out this criteria that you want these boots to have and how much you want the boots to cost. And then your robot, and when I say robot, I'm just talking about a software program, not like a physical robot, but just like a software program. It will go out onto the network and it will have purchasing. It will have access to your tokens in a sense. And it'll go out onto the network and it will negotiate on your behalf, and it'll find the exact pair of red boots that you want, for your outfit tonight. And then they'll just kind of show up at your doorstep, and your robot would have managed that entire process for you. So the way that I look at it is way back in the day, we had the barter system, but the barter system couldn't support an advanced society the way that we live today. We couldn't, in our advanced societies, barter system it wouldn't work, and then we're moving to this even, futuristic kind of society where we will have software programs that are doing this purchasing on our behalf, and our current financial system can't support that. So with cryptocurrencies as well, that's going to be just kind of an evolution of how we exchange value. But there's, to Mercy's point, we can't even begin to imagine. All we know is that it's going to be bigger than, the world economy is going to be bigger than what it is today.
On your point about purchasing power, I want to give you an example, Joanna. So in Nigeria, some people, when they're doing business with people in other countries, they would have to go and purchase dollars with their naira before they could do business with them. So think about it, you're in Nigeria and the thing that they're paying you with is naira typically, but the purchasing power of that is not that strong, so much that it's not that strong that you have to go and purchase another currency, lose money when you purchase that currency just to do business with other people. This is part of why, like, when you were saying that, like, oh, what happens is everybody maybe moves to ADA or something like that. Imagine if our whole world uses this one currency. Now, I don't think it's gonna, me personally, I don't think it's going to get to a case that we will all use one currency, but it can level out the playing field for some people a whole lot more if they move towards these currencies. So yeah, that's something to think about, anyways.
And that's a major point that you just made. You know, the cost of moving money around uh, in some blockchains is dramatically less, and you know, offers the ability to do business with anyone in the world if they accept that current, you know, that cryptocurrency. So that's an important use case, and I think that, you know, here in the US, we're really, you know, about 8 weeks away from having a lot more regulatory clarity on what banks can and can't do with cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And, you know, to the points we were making earlier, this really is, uh, you know, getting in on Google and Apple in the very beginning. So right now, pretty much everything in the blockchain cryptocurrency is markets, the market caps that's out there is almost all speculation money. It's not hardly any of its use case money. And we're actually closer to real world use cases, blockchain empowering lots of different applications out there, which is going to take it to a whole different world, you know, of than where we are now.
So for sure, yeah, just to add a little bit, for sure, things are going to change in the future, you know, like with how blockchain is going to be. And just to add to what Sidney said, it's just going to be a wealthier world. And those of us who can see that future where there is more people coming into the blockchain community, and there's less friction with trade, you know, like things are moving fast, and also people are able to create wealth, right? In terms of you know, like somebody poor who is in Ghana, and maybe they can really do, you know, like, or maybe they can really draw, right? But then because they're in Ghana, nobody is really seeing or hearing about them. What blockchain does is that it gives all these people, or whoever, you know, it could be a farmer, it could be anybody, it gives them an opportunity to come into this blockchain community, buy and sell, they get money, the government is able to tax that money, you know, and then the wealth just grows, and that is how wealth grows. As people, you know, sell what they have, what they are good at, what they're producing, they make the money. And for some reason, you know, the more there's movement, I buy this art, I buy this food, I buy whatever it is, it just creates wealth, you know, and then people get wealthy. Or sometimes even somebody has a great idea. Just imagine Bill Gates, you know, like many years ago when he had all these ideas about, you know, creating this operating system. Just imagine if he didn't have money. Like, imagine that he was some poor guy in some corner in Africa that, you know, like he's so brilliant, but then he has no way of producing whatever he wanted to produce. This whole technology that has pushed the world so forward would never have been realized, because he would never have had access to money, to finance, to create this thing that he created, right? So
Yeah,
it's going to be a wealthier world for sure.
Yeah, and but to also, you know, the whole benefit of blockchain is, you know, so Bill Gates, he had a lot more opportunity than most of the people in the world. So there's Bill Gates in Africa, there's Bill Gates in Asia, there's people like Bill Gates all over the world who don't have the opportunity Bill Gates had. And hopefully that's what blockchain really does, is it begins. And again, you know, what attracted me to the DC fund and stuff was this idea of like inclusive capital to fund the brilliant entrepreneurs out there that actually do want to make the world a better place.
Even on that point,
I think that's
the internet itself has given us access to a network. That's what the blockchain would also do. It gives you access to a network of people around the world. Whereas without the internet, maybe us right now, we may not be able to cross paths with each other and speak to each other and bounce ideas off each other. And that's what blockchain will further push. It will further push a connection, a network in our world where we'll be able to push ideas out there. And I could see some guy, halfway across the world with a brilliant idea, and maybe he can't get access to finance. Maybe I have a little bit of money and I might give him some. And then maybe Sidney sees him as well. And next thing you know, we're funding a whole other business. And I think that's a very beautiful thing, because look what the internet has did for our world. It's created some amazing things in our world that we didn't have access to before it came along.
And we can't do that now. We so like if I have $50 that I want to fund a project in another country, how do I get the $50 to the other country, and how do I get it to where it should be in that other country? I mean, if I try to send it Western Union, I mean, by the time it left the Western Union station, it would, they would have taken pretty much all of the money. Like the money that I'm sending wouldn't make it to where it's going. So a blockchain is going to allow for that that type of exchange to have, so that if I do have $50, I can be confident that I can get, pretty much all of that $50 for the most part to this project that I want to fund in a place that might be otherwise difficult to get that money to.
Yeah, even for myself, with my freelance web work and stuff, I use PayPal to invoice my clients and stuff, and I lose 3% right off the top for using them. It's like, if it's a big invoice, it's like, there's hours of my work that I got paid for that I went just to pay to use PayPal invoicing. It's like when we start to get, to the payment systems where it is just a lot more easy for anyone to take part in the ecosystem. People, freelancer businesses have amazing opportunities to just save amazing amounts of money just on the cost that it costs them to get paid.
How do you feel about PayPal getting into crypto, Boone?
That's smart. they're
Right,
smart.
I'm gonna cut you guys off. I think the referee had a question there. So the referee is one of the most important people in the AfroFinLab. So go ahead, Joanna. What did you have to say there?
I mean, I might be a little bit of like a pessimist, but I mean, it feels kind of like very, ideal. You know what I mean? Like, do you guys have any concerns about do you guys see any like cons to the whole thing?
Oh yeah. So I would say, in the beginning and still to this day, there's plenty of people out there who are just using this as a way to scam people out of money. So Uniswap has like brought this to the forefront, because anyone can now create a ERC20, put it on Uniswap, and pretty much do an ICO. So you have tons of things that
It
What's
looks.
ICO?
Yeah. But yeah.
So Uniswap is a decentralized exchange, and an ICO is initial coin offering. So what I mean by that is, to your point, is so right now that blockchain is kind of this grand idea. So there's some good use cases happening in the world, but primarily it's a gambling system right now, and most of the applications built out there are about leveraging your money and taking major risks and doing all these things. And that's what I was bringing to my point about what blockchain is right now. It's a lot of speculative money. It's not a lot of real world use cases of blockchain making a difference. But what's happened in the last couple of years, especially for Cardano and different chains out there, is you've seen these chains that did ICOs years ago, but they've stayed in the grind. They've kept pushing forward. They didn't just get the money, put some tweets out, and then disappear. They've been building and building. And so, everything I've learned in startups takes longer than what you think. So even though we are really kind of in the infancy of blockchain, and it still is kind of this grand idea that everyone thinks is gonna solve the world problems and stuff, we're really just starting to see some of those ideas come to the surface.
Hmm.
I
I'll be honest. I've never. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry about that. Go ahead, Azeez. I was just going to say I've never seen a technology that with this power, this power of disruption. I mean, you look at what is the most popular technology during our time is probably Facebook, I'm guessing. And it took like Facebook like 7 years before it really started kind of turning a profit and drawing a lot of people into its ecosystem. And there were people. I mean, you could turn on the news and hear a little bit about Facebook here and there, but every sector, every industry across the entire globe is talking about it. So the degree of disruption, the degree that this technology, the size of this technology is really bigger than any technology that I've ever like witnessed at this pace, because nobody knew what Bitcoin was 2 years ago, literally, until 2017, when the price went way up and then some of the news stations started talking about it. You could probably go out on the street and ask 10 people if they knew what Bitcoin was, and I would probably say that 10 people would say no, But now you go out on the street today and you ask, or at least ask them if they've heard of Bitcoin. If you go out on the street today and you ask 10 people, have you heard of Bitcoin? I would venture to say that 10 people will say yes. So, you have the banks, you have the governments, you have corporations, you have small businesses, you have, the tech sector, you have logistics, all of those types. Every single sector has kind of zeroed in on this one technology. And I've honestly never seen anything like that in 2 years, by the way. I mean, not like over, 5, 6, 7, 8 year time period, just in the last couple of years. And I've never seen that much attention given to any one technology so quickly. So just from that perspective, it just makes me think, because I'm not the smart person in the room. I'm not the one making the money. It's those folks up there, and they have their sights set on it. And that just kind of tells me, it confirms for me that it's not going anywhere. This is the future. And the cool thing about it is people like you, Joanna, you, Boone, and everybody else on this call, we're not a part of the future. We get to shape it. It hasn't happened yet. So, like the ideas that are going to come out of this are the ones that are flowing through us right now. We don't have to wait for them to kind of do stuff. We get to participate in a way that we haven't been in the past. And I think that's one of the most exciting things for me.
What Sidney is talking about there, I have to say, is that's like institutional money is now coming into the blockchain ecosystem. Whereas before it was a lot of people like me, maybe James, that were just like, oh, Bitcoin, let's just chuck money at it. Cardano, let's just throw money at it. But people didn't really understand it. Now people are starting to understand it. But back to your point about the cons of it, with all this institutional money now coming into it, some people are still going to be coming into this ecosystem and not actually trying to understand it. And I feel like I'm only in the blockchain ecosystem like 3 months. But one thing I've did within this past 3 months is really try to understand these different blockchains, because if you don't understand them, that's where you really are going to lose your money, or you're not going to see the value. Like, for example, you were talking about other cons within the blockchain ecosystem. Security is a huge one. A lot of people do not know how to actually manage their cryptocurrency and keep it secure. So for you, Joanna, I would advise you, before you even look at anything else, look at how to best keep your cryptocurrency secure, because there are people that get hacked and they lose their money. And because of that puts a bad taste in their mouth, and they're like, oh no, I'm never going near that again. But the sad reality is that if they learned about the security first, that probably may have not happened. And from there, they'd be able to maybe dig deeper and really, truly understand how this technology can create transparency, accountability, new trading systems in our world. So it just opens up a whole world to possibilities and dreams that can actually be made reality. So I guess that's a con, but like a hope in a sense there, if that makes any sense. But
It's totally, it's a razor's edge. It's such a thin line. Like, so Boone mentioned ICOs on Uniswap as an example or like a symptom of a disadvantage of the thing, right? But earlier, Joanna asked the question about what's the best case scenario for all this. And it's actually the opposite side of that same coin Boone was talking about. You know, we right now, we think about there's this blockchain and there's that one. And because we're conditioned to think this way, we liken tokens to owning stock in a company, right? But really, Cardano is not a company. It's an infrastructure, right? So a best case scenario is for everybody to get to the point where when we think about Cardano or owning a piece of Cardano, that's the same thing as thinking about, what if I owned a small slice of all the highways or all the cell phone networks, right? Or all the intercontinental cables under the ocean. That's what we have, right? We have an infrastructure. And what does it do? Well, it does a lot of things. One thing it does, and this is, we found out in such an exciting day on Thursday, hearing a lot of this news, but one of the things it does is that we're going to be able to make tokens whenever we want to, right? You with a group of friends can make a currency and create your own little barter system, right? So Sidney, I agree, barter doesn't work at a global scale, but barter is a great tool for people choosing to lift each other up, right? We can begin to and that could be a group of 5 people, 12 people, or 1,000 people deciding, hey, whatever, these systems aren't working for me, we can build this now, right? And if we live in a world where people understand that, like the implications of creating a token, the ability to make one, and the safety to then exchange them. And one of my favorite things about Cardano is that any token built on it has all of, basically all of the functionality of an ADA token itself, right? But the flip side of that coin is so bad, right? What if all the Cardano goes into the hands of the few and it becomes really hard to make a token, and the people who do make tokens are not doing so to like exchange trust within a small group, within people they know in real life, but who are just doing it like is done on Uniswap, where it's just, let's see how fast we can make a buck, right?
Yeah.
And those two things, they're so close together. They're almost the same.
And great points about the infrastructure and everything for a representation of what Cardano is and stuff, because that's very true. But I also want to make clear too, I don't think necessarily ICOs on Uniswap are a bad thing. I do think it is something that people have to be careful of. It's all back to that financial literacy. So I like ICOs on Uniswap because it's back to that idea. It's opening up entrepreneurs and startups to get investments to try to build things, but you have to be careful. Not every token you see out there that's the intention of the team, and so it's it is about doing your research. A good thing to do before you ever invest in any type of token is to follow all their social networks and see how much they're actually posting things. Are they putting blogs and updates about their developments? It's like you don't have to buy something right when you learn about it or see it. It's like, find out what they're doing, even so. I think one of the problems we have in the industry now is people just if you say cryptocurrency or blockchain and they do happen to know about it, all they think is Bitcoin, because Bitcoin or XRP, those are the two things they hear in the news sometimes. And that might, if they've even been thinking about crypto, that Bitcoin is pretty much what is in the general masses mind. The problem is people don't realize, and I get some haters from this message out here, but Bitcoin is not a good technology, really. It's a great idea, but the power Bitcoin consumes is ridiculous, and it's not a sustainable or smart infrastructure to start building a financial system on top of. It's slow and power hungry. So if one of the major global concerns is reducing power usage and global warming, all these different things, why would you put a bunch of money into a technology that is consuming more energy than countries? So that doesn't make any sense, you know. So that was another thing when I watched a YouTube video a long time ago about how you could run a Cardano node on a Raspberry Pi. And I thought, whoa, and that was one of the things that even actually made me think, okay, well, that's the type of blockchain that I would want. We think it matters on. That's a sustainable idea, you know. And so I think what we need to also people in the you know, need to think about and invest in is what kind of economic, or not just economic, but what kind of environmental impact is that blockchain company having on the world? And one of the best things about Cardano is the way they've designed this chain to run as energy efficient as possible, right? It's not going to, you're never going to have Cardano's blockchain consuming countries worth of energy to maintain itself.
Okay, guys, we've hit actually the 50-minute mark, so I'm going to wrap it up here. So I just want to thank everyone within our audience, as well as our panelists and our expert and our referee for being on today's show and joining us here on the AfroFinLab podcast.
Great questions.
I was going to say that if you are watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Or if you are on Twitter or Instagram, please follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the AfroFinLab. Now, although the conversation has ended here, the conversations will continue behind the scenes. So if you want to stick around and stay with us for our continuous conversation, please stick around, but feel free to leave now. Thank you very much for watching the AfroFinLab podcast.